How's it going, everybody? My name is Lucky Buns, and in today's video we're going to be going over the Silver Bottle Cap, which will be available as a reward if you purchase the Go Pass Deluxe for the Into the Wild event, and this will be available until November 16th at 6 p.m. local time, and it's going to cost $15. Now, it's really important to clarify here that by purchasing this Go Pass Deluxe, you still need to obtain enough points to get to rank 100, which is going to be 1,000 points in total, and you can get points by doing the following. You're going to get 1 point by catching a Pokemon, 5 points for hatching an egg, and then 15 points for either winning a max battle or winning a raid battle. Now, during the week leading up to the Go Wild Area event over the weekend on November 15th and November 16th, there is going to be a point limit, but over the weekend the point limit is going to be removed. So during previous events, I had no problem completing the entire pass by mostly just catching Pokemon over the weekend. Now, every major event where we've actually had a Go Pass featured like this, I always get comments where people are stressing out about the point limit leading up to the weekend, so I wanted to cover this at the beginning of this video. Like, this is not something you guys really need to stress out about. I mean, if you don't feel like you're going to have that much time to play this weekend, obviously don't buy this pass, because it does require at least a few hours of grinding across both days, but that isn't a heavy requirement to meet. I'm talking like maybe 2 to 3 hours a day, maybe not even that much. The good news here is that you can always upgrade the Go Pass to the Deluxe version to get the Silver Bottle Cap later on if you want to, so if you're worried about not reaching rank 100 due to your playstyle, you can always wait to see how things go over the weekend and then purchase it later. That being said though, there are going to be some bonuses offered at certain ranks for the people who buy the Deluxe Pass early. For example, once you make it to rank 15, you're going to get 2 times incense duration. At rank 30, you're going to get 5,000 additional experience on raid battles and max battles, and then at rank 45, you're going to get 1 additional candy and extra large candy from raid battles and max battles as well. So for anybody who's going to be doing a lot of raids over this weekend, you probably do want to buy this pass earlier rather than later. That being said, if you guys have any questions or concerns about the point limit or even just the Go Pass Deluxe by itself, let me know in the comments section down below. I'll be doing a Q&A video right before this weekend to answer any last minute questions. Next up, let's talk about bottle caps though. So for anybody who's unsure how bottle caps actually work in Pokemon Go, basically this is going to allow you to hyper train the IVs of your Pokemon, or in other words, you're going to be able to create hundos or potentially even shundos. Gold bottle caps are going to allow you to hyper train all of your IVs, whereas silver bottle caps are going to allow you to only train one IV. Earlier this year during GoFest, we had the Go Bottle Cap featured as the reward from the Go Pass Deluxe, so I'm sure many of you watching this already know how this process works, but for those of you that don't, the tasks to hyper train are actually quite time consuming. So just make sure to keep this in mind, because whichever Pokemon you decide to pick, it's going to take you a bit of time. And you also cannot use these on Shadow Pokemon. Very important clarification right there. Now, these bottle caps also have an expiration date, so you need to make sure you have the right Pokemon in mind before you decide to actually purchase this Go Pass Deluxe. For the Silver Bottle Cap, you're going to have until November 24th at 11:59 p.m. to make your decision. Now, with that being said, I'm sure many of you are probably wondering if this bottle cap is actually worth the price point of $15 through the Go Pass Deluxe. And first, I do want to say that you're going to be getting a ton of premium items on top of just the Silver Bottle Cap, so we should talk about those first. So assuming that you actually make it to rank 100 to get the Silver Bottle Cap, you're also going to get 3 incense, 6 lucky eggs, 6 star pieces, 3 incubators, 1 super incubator, 5 premium raid passes, 1 elite charge TM, which is typically very expensive to buy from the in-game shop, 2,000 MP, 1 max mushroom, a shadow darkrai, which is the equivalent of a raid pass, and then 2 avatar items. And if you actually purchase the Go Pass Deluxe through the web store for $15, you're also going to get 5 premium raid passes, 5 MP packs, and 1 max mushroom. So in terms of value, this is easily going to pay for itself, not even factoring in the Silver Bottle Cap. And I think that's a really important thing to consider when you guys are actually going to be buying this. Because if you were going to spend money on any of these items, and I guarantee there's going to be a lot of people buying premium raid passes and MP packs over this weekend, then the Silver Bottle Cap becomes more of a cherry on top item. That said, I do understand that for some people the Silver Bottle Cap is the main reason they're going to be purchasing this, but you can't really ignore everything else that comes with it. So yeah, the price point is definitely worth it. You're gonna get your money's worth for sure. Now, if you only care about the Silver Bottle Cap and nothing else, which would be very surprising, then you have to ask yourself, how much do IVs actually matter? And in the grand scheme of things, IVs don't actually impact the power of a Pokemon by that much. The difference is actually quite minimal. Now, of course, that said, seeing a Shundo is very aesthetically pleasing, so I can totally understand wanting to get it for that reason on a Pokemon that's meta relevant or a Pokemon that you just really like. Simply put though, you can easily avoid purchasing this if you wanted to, because it's not going to actually change much for you in terms of battle power. When I analyzed the paid ticket for the Go Wild Area event, and if you guys haven't watched that video, I'm going to link it right now on screen, I put a big emphasis on the experience aspect of the event, whereas the Go Pass Deluxe focuses more on premium items. Now I do think both are worth it depending on your playstyle, but I can personally live without a Shundo or additional premium items. That said though, if you are still here at this point, you are probably committed to the silver bottle cap, so let's cover your best options that you can actually go with. So before we actually do anything, you guys need to go through your Pokemon storage right now and use this search string on screen. I'll give you a second to actually type it out. You can pause the video right here, but essentially this search string is going to pull up any Pokemon that is applicable for the silver bottle cap and shiny. You can alter the search string as needed if you want to include or filter out more Pokemon, but this should help you narrow down your options significantly. Without this search string, I guarantee it's going to take you 10 times as long to actually figure out which Pokemon are going to be eligible to use for your silver bottle cap. This just makes the process so much easier. Okay, now with that being said, let's go over your best possible options, and these are personally what I think are some of the rarest Pokemon in game, have the most meta relevance, and therefore you're going to get the most value for your silver bottle cap, or for any bottle cap for that matter. So first of all, we're going to have shiny Pokemon with backgrounds, whether that be a location background or a special background, or the even rarer combination backgrounds like Necrozma or Kyurem. I understand that not everybody really cares that much about backgrounds, but in terms of rarity, like for example a shiny legendary with a location background or even a special background is a really cool Pokemon to have in game. I personally have a shiny Groudon with the Las Vegas background, and if I actually got the gold bottle cap, I would have totally used it on that Pokemon. So I wanted to mention that right away, because if you have any of these Pokemon in their shiny forms with their special background, then I think that's going to be a great contender for your bottle cap. But let's go over more specific options now. So first up, we have the shiny fusion Pokemon. I think these are excellent choices. They're extremely meta relevant, so we're going to have Necrozma first of all, which fused together with Lunala is going to create Dawnwings, and then fused together with Solgaleo is going to create Duskmane. Now Dawnwings is much better in terms of meta relevance compared to Duskmane, because we also have Zacian Crowned and Zamazenta Crowned, which were available earlier this year in Pokemon GO. I'm assuming a lot of you guys got access to that, and in terms of Steel type relevance in the raid/gym meta, Zacian and Zamazenta are both better than Duskmane Necrozma. But when it comes down to Dawnwings, this is the best ghost type attacker in the game. It's even better than Mega Gengar, so if you did want to make a Shundo out of this Pokemon, that would be an excellent investment. I personally love my Lucky Hundo Dawnwings that I have, and unfortunately it doesn't have a background or anything like that, but I still think it is amazing. And I'm just going to tell you this right now, 100% recommend if you guys do have an eligible Necrozma that can be silver bottle capped, I think it's going to be an excellent choice. I actually do have a Necrozma that could be silver bottle capped, even though I'm not going to be getting it myself, with the wormhole background, so man, if I actually did get the silver bottle cap, that would probably be one of my top options for sure. But when it comes down to it, I would definitely go with Dawnwings over Duskmane if you had to pick one or the other. Now the energy requirement is kind of heavy. You have to do anywhere from like 9 to 12 raids to get enough to actually do the fusion, because it's going to be 1000 lunar energy, and keep in mind, if you do fuse these Pokemon together and you unfuse them, you're going to have to spend that energy once again. So whichever Pokemon you decide to fuse, just make sure that is the right one, because you can't really go back on it. You're gonna have to do another 10 more raids, which would really suck. That said though, I would recommend doing anywhere from like 20 raids or more, just because Dawnwings is literally that good, and we have no idea when we're going to see these Pokemon come back into raid battles, so take advantage of the opportunity right now. Once again, it is going to be available on Friday in your local time zone, so just do as many of those as you possibly can. I guarantee there's going to be a lot of people doing them, so you shouldn't have too much trouble getting raid lobbies. Putting Dawnwings aside though, clearly that's a fan favorite here, and I definitely think that's going to be one of your best options if you can go with it. Let's talk about White and Black Kyurem. So Kyurem fused together with Reshiram is going to create White Kyurem, and then Kyurem fused together with Zekrom is going to create Black Kyurem. Now it is very important, guys, that you have Glaciate on your Kyurem before you fuse them. So please just make sure to double check that your Kyurem have Glaciate, because if you fuse it together and then you unfuse it, just like Necrozma, you're gonna have to spend that 1000 energy once again. Now in terms of meta relevance, White Kyurem is the best ice type attacker in the game, and then Black Kyurem is also a very good ice type attacker, even though it doesn't have access to an ice type fast move. Both are very, very good for raid battles, and the same thing is also true for their Master League relevance. And I forgot to mention this as well for Dawnwings and Duskmane Necrozma. They're also very good in the Open Master League, so all around for both of these fusion Pokemon, they're very, very good investments, and therefore if you do have any eligible versions of them in their shiny forms, I would strongly encourage you guys to go with it. Once again though, this is only applicable for the Necrozma or the Kyurem. This is not relevant for the Reshiram or the Zekrom when it comes down to the Kyurem fusions, or the Lunala or the Solgaleo for the Necrozma fusions. The IVs don't matter on those Pokemon, only on Necrozma, and only on Kurem. Fusion Pokemon aside, the next two best options you can go with are going to be Shiny Origin Palkia with Spatial Rend or Shiny Origin Dialga with Roar of Time. Both are incredibly meta-relevant, and when it comes down to their Adventure Effect movesets, Spatial Rend or Roar of Time, these are raid exclusive. We had them available in raid battles a couple months ago. We actually had 2 different rotations for them, if I'm not mistaken. And unfortunately, the move rate was very, very low, not to mention getting the shiny. There were some people that got Shundos but didn't get the moveset, and well, they're basically just stuck with an expensive paperweight because they can't do anything with it without the moveset. I personally have a Hundo Palkia with Spatial Rend and a 98 Dialga with Roar of Time, both maxed out, and I use them all the time in raid battles. I use them all the time in rocket battles. They're super good Pokemon. And unfortunately, I don't have the shiny variants of either of them, but if you guys do and you want to consider giving it a silver bottle cap, I would say that's totally worth it, easily. Now the next type of Pokemon I'm going to recommend is going to be a shiny Gmax with a Mega Evolution, so something like Gmax Charizard or Gmax Gengar actually fit this criteria. And if you have them with special backgrounds like the Darkness backgrounds from a few months ago, then that's even better. I recently picked up a shiny Gmax Charizard. I did like a 2-for-1 trade. I gave my friend a shiny Gmax Garbodor and a shiny Groudon to get this Pokemon because I really, really wanted it. And honestly, I have no regrets. This thing is so freaking cool. It's really awesome to have both the Mega Evolution and the Gmax on the same Pokemon. And so if you can, I would say this is an excellent pick. So if you have any Pokemon that fit this criteria, I would definitely consider it. Even if you just have like a shiny Gmax with a background, that could be a really fun one to do. But a shiny Gmax that also can Mega Evolve is definitely taken to the next level. Now, speaking of a very valuable Pokemon that is probably going to be the only non-shiny in this video, that is going to be Eternatus. But Eternatus is by far one of the most powerful Pokemon in this game. It's really good in max battles, it's really good in raid battles, and it's really good in the Open Master League. But Eternatus is a Pokemon that costs so much money due to the candy requirement. But if you were one of those people that did tons of Eternatus raids during the Max Finale event, and you had enough to actually take this thing past level 40, I would say that it might be worth considering using your silver bottle cap on if you have one that is eligible. This Pokemon is equivalent to a Mega Rayquaza. It's literally that good. Mega Rayquaza is one of the best Pokemon in the game as far as Dragon-type attackers are concerned, and Eternatus is up there as a non-Mega. Putting aside our pay-to-win Pokemon though, next up we're going to have Shiny Zacian and Shiny Zamazenta. When it comes down to Zacian, this is really good as an attacker, and then Zamazenta is going to be really good as a tank to use. Both of them are going to be really good as Steel-type attackers though in raid battles, and then both have really good Master League relevance. Personally speaking, when it comes down to Zacian and Zamazenta, they're my go-to picks when it comes down to pretty much any max battle, so if you have the chance to make any of them into a Shundo, I would go for it. Now following that, we're going to have 3 more amazing picks. We're going to have Shiny Groudon, Shiny Kyogre, and Shiny Rayquaza. Shiny Groudon and Shiny Kyogre have access to Primal forms. Shiny Rayquaza has access to a Mega Evolution if you do have the Meteorite to get Dragon Ascent. And so when it comes down to it, you have raid relevance, you have Master League relevance, and you even have rocket relevance too. I would have to imagine that a lot of people are probably going to go with Shiny Rayquaza if they do have an eligible one, but don't sleep on Shiny Groudon. I mean, with Precipice Blades and Fire Punch, this thing is deadly in pretty much every aspect of the game. Whether you have it in the Primal for raid battles, or just even using the regular, using Fire Punch for rocket battles, or even just in PvP using Precipice Blades and Fire Punch, it's a super good combo. All around, Groudon is one of my favorite Pokemon in the game, and if you can get a Shundo, I think it's definitely worth it. Same thing with Rayquaza. That Pokemon is super good as a flying type attacker and super good as a dragon type attacker. And when it comes down to Kyogre, I don't mean to overshadow this Pokemon. It's not nearly as good as the other two, but it's still very, very good. It's the best water type attacker in the game. It's really good to use in Master League, and then it's also super good to use against rocket battles. With Waterfall, that thing annihilates everything, and then with Surf combined with Origin Pulse as the signature moveset, that's very, very good right there too. If you have any of the Pokemon in this video that I've mentioned so far with their shiny forms and their special backgrounds potentially, I would say go with one of those if they are eligible for your silver bottle cap. If not, we do have a few more other options I can go over. So the next one is going to be Shiny Mewtwo. Not like a major pick I would recommend going with, as it gets access to a future Mega Evolution, but unfortunately, it's just not as useful compared to some of the other Pokemon that I've talked about. Psychic types don't really get as much play compared to some of the other Pokemon. Also, for some reason, on my last video that I went over when I was talking about bottle caps, people were just non-stop saying Armored Mewtwo was like one of the best picks, which I don't really get. It's not meta relevant for anything. Yes, it is a rare Pokemon, but why would you use a bottle cap on an Armored Mewtwo? I mean, unless you just want it to look cool, which I guess is fine, but everything else that I've talked about so far has meta relevance in various aspects of the game. You can use a bottle cap on Armored Mewtwo if you want to, but again, same thing that I said for the gold bottle cap video, I just don't see a point. If you're going to use it on a Mewtwo, you might as well use it on a shiny Mewtwo. The further along we get in this video, the picks probably aren't going to be as good as the ones that I've mentioned so far, so again, if you've already picked a Pokemon from the earlier ones, I would say go with that. But if you still haven't decided, I think all these next ones are going to be pretty good as well. There's 6 here. And so we're going to have a shiny Gardevoir, shiny Charizard, shiny Lucario, shiny Metagross, shiny Tyranitar, and shiny Garchomp. All of these Pokemon have access to Mega Evolutions, which make them the best of their respective typings, except for Garchomp, but everything else is the best of their respective typing. Gardevoir is going to be the best Fairy type, Charizard is going to be the best Fire type, Lucario is the best Fighting type by far, Metagross is going to be the best Steel type, and Tyranitar is going to be the best Rock type and Dark type. Now there is actually another reason why I wanted to mention some of these Pokemon, and that's because Gardevoir, Tyranitar, and Garchomp are going to be featured during the Go Wild Area event as mighty Pokemon, which means their IV floor is going to be 13, 13, 13, and if you happen to get lucky and get a shiny, you have a 1 out of 27 chance of that actually being a Shundo, and if it isn't a Shundo, it's probably going to be pretty damn close. Therefore, you could end up using a silver bottle cap to actually make it a Shundo. Just saying, if you don't have any of the Pokemon that I mentioned so far, I mean, keep in mind, you could end up getting one over this weekend. Now, if none of those actually sound interesting to you, we can go over a few mythical Pokemon that you might have eligible for the silver bottle cap. So we're going to have shiny Meloetta, shiny Darkrai, shiny Shaman, shiny Mew, shiny Jirachi, and then we're going to have Zygarde, Diancie, and Keldeo. To be honest, I probably wouldn't go with shiny Darkrai anymore because we're going to have shiny Shadow Darkrai featured over this weekend, and even without the IVs being good on that Pokemon, it's going to be much better than a regular Darkrai. The only reason why I would even recommend Darkrai is because it's going to be a mythical Pokemon that can't be traded. In terms of shiny Meloetta, this Pokemon is good to use in the Open Master League. In terms of shiny Shaman, if you actually use this in its Sky form, it's going to be a pretty good grass type attacker in game. Shiny Mew is probably one of the more fan favorite Pokemon, and then shiny Jirachi is actually pretty good to use in Open Master League now. Now when it comes down to Zygarde, this is probably one of your better picks to go with, but there is the argument that you can just use Zygarde for the Open Ultra League instead, and then wait for a potential shiny Zygarde during the Kalos Tour in February 2026. I think that's a reasonable take, and a lot of people were talking about that when I made this video for the gold bottle cap a few months ago. So, I mean, be hesitant if you want to go with Zygarde because you could also have the chance to do a shiny Zygarde. We also have Diancie, which, again, we could potentially see shiny Diancie during the Kalos Tour in February 2026. And then Keldeo, unfortunately, is going to get a shiny release on November 25th, which is one day after the silver bottle cap is going to expire. That was definitely intentional, so even if you are able to get a shiny Keldeo that is eligible for a silver bottle cap, you will not be able to use this current silver bottle cap on it. So once again, make sure to use the silver bottle cap search string that I mentioned earlier on in this video. I'll put it again on screen right now just so you guys can actually go through and check. That pretty much covers all the best options that I think you guys can go with, though. If you feel like I missed out on anything, or if you already know what you're going to be using your silver bottle cap on, let us know in the comment section down below. I'm very curious. I guarantee it's going to be a lot different than what people were using their gold bottle cap on, so I'm going to take a look at that, and then maybe when I do my Q&A video before the Go Wild Area event this weekend, I'll probably highlight some of the more popular picks. Otherwise, though, if you guys are still looking for some more content, I'm going to recommend these videos right here, and I'll see you all real soon in the next one.